12-year-old boy stumbles upon a rock that's more valuable than it looks. More often than not, you can find 12-year-old Nathan Hrushkin and his father Dion up to their knees in dirt and dust. They don't do it for fun. The duo is on the search for ancient treasure, and they know exactly what to look out for in their quest to get their hands on something meaningful. Still, Nathan couldn't help but be drawn to a rock that was sitting almost cartoonishly at the top of a dusty hill. Before we begin, make sure to smash that like button, subscribe to our channel, and click the notification bell for more amazing videos. An aspiring paleontologist, Nathan wants nothing more than to be knee-deep in dirt at Horseshoe Canyon, where ancient bones are believed to be hidden beneath the surface. It takes a lot of patience if you want to find something special. Luckily for Nathan, he has patience to spare. Still, when he arrived at Horseshoe Canyon with his dad, shown here on the left, one special day, he thought the most he'd find would be a few rocks and a lizard or two. The Canada natives had no idea he was about to stumble onto something much more rare. Like a lot of kids, Nathan loves learning about some of the oldest known creatures to have walked the earth. Dinosaurs. Prehistoric times were crawling with all kinds of creatures we'd find monstrous today, but all that remains of this time period are bones. Believe it or not, Nathan has encountered a few chunks of prehistoric life in the past. He and Dion had found multiple bone fragments at Horseshoe Canyon, but never anything substantial enough to identify. Still, if fragments exist, an intact bone could be anywhere. Searching for dinosaur bones is like participating in a weird, dusty scavenger hunt. You follow the fragments, unsure if you're being led to or away from your ultimate goal. Ancient history was waiting beneath Nathan's feet, but he just didn't know exactly where to start digging. But there was something different about that particular day, when Nathan and Dion decided to hike through a conservation site in Horseshoe Canyon. They were near the place they'd found the bone fragments, which gave the aspiring paleontologist an idea. Nathan realized that the bone fragments which they'd found at the bottom of a hill may have washed down from farther up the hill. If that was true, then there could be more fragments at the top of the hill, and perhaps even something intact. The father and son paused the hike to eat lunch, but Nathan's curiosity got the better of him. He just had to know what was at the top of that hill, so he hiked up alone. Within minutes, he started yelling, "Dad, you need to get up here." As soon as he said that, I could tell by the tone of his voice that he found something. Dion later told CNN. What Nathan found, though, probably wouldn't have looked like much to the average person, a strangely shaped rock jutting up from the dirt. But Nathan immediately knew that this was no rock. In fact, he said the object was so obviously a fossil that it looked like a scene on a TV show or a cartoon or something. Carefully, they took pictures of the supposed fossil and sent them to the Royal Tyrrell Museum of Paleontology for analysis. Nathan and Dion weren't amateurs. They knew that it was illegal for them to disturb any fossils found in Alberta, Canada. Still, the anticipation was killing them. After all this time, had they finally found a vestige from prehistoric times? When the Museum of Paleontology immediately sent a team of paleontologists to the site, Nathan and Dion knew they'd found something extraordinary. It took 2 months of careful digging and excavation, but the experts were finally able to give Nathan some good news. The fossil he'd found was actually a fully intact humerus bone from the late Cretaceous period. The more they dug, the more bones they uncovered, all of which, including Nathan's discovery, belonged to a single duck-billed dinosaur called a hadrosaur. Just like Nathan, the hadrosaur was a kid. The hadrosaur was estimated to have been around 3 to 4 years old when it died, which, according to experts, makes Nathan's discovery extremely valuable, and not just because it was uncovered by a 12-year-old. This young hadrosaur is a very important discovery because it comes from a time interval for which we know very little about, said Francois Therion, the museum's curator of dinosaur paleoecology. According to him, Nathan's eagle eye could have a huge impact. Since very few juvenile skeletons have been found in Alberta's Badlands, Nathan and Dion's discovery is especially exciting. Nathan and Dion's find will help us fill this big gap in our knowledge of dinosaur extinction, Therion said. The more they searched, the more bones they found. Experts uncovered 4 limbs, hips, shoulders, and a partial skull from the same individual dinosaur. Apparently, one of the fossil slabs weighed an impressive 1,000 pounds and was more than 4 feet wide. The experts sent the fossils to the museum for further study. Since there are many species of hadrosaur, it will take a while for the experts to figure out which kind of hadrosaur these bones are from. Still, Nathan isn't giving in to impatience. Like most paleontologists, Nathan knows that patience is key when you're trying to uncover millions of years worth of life. "It was pretty fun to be there and watch them do their things," he said of the paleontologist. In just a few years, Nathan could be right there with them. Nathan got to see the scattered bones of a hadrosaur in person, but imagine if he discovered a fully intact T-Rex skeleton. This would obviously be a huge long shot, especially since only a handful of T-Rex skeletons have been assembled in the world. At the time of Jurassic Park's production, in the entire world, just 7 or 8 full T-Rex skeletons had been discovered by paleontologists. Fast forward to today, experts have a much clearer grasp of what the unofficial king of the dinos really looked like. Over a dozen additional T-Rex skeletons have been recovered from around the world as of 2019. Further study of the remains led to drastically different portraits of the carnivorous beast than science had constructed. One of the most significant features of the T-Rex that came to light was that they were the originators of the business in the front, party in the back lifestyle. That's right, the most fearsome of the dinosaur community rocked a mullet. The experts deduced that, like the other members of the Tyrannosaurus species, the T-Rex had tufts of feathers running from the top of their head down to their spines, with a cute little feather fluff at the tip of their tails. This is purely an assumption, though, since the existence of fossilized feathers is far and few between. None of the T-Rex skeletal remains show feathers, but a bunch of their cousins do, which points to a strong likelihood that it was a family trait. A feathered mullet isn't the image that strikes fear in the hearts of men. Quite the opposite, actually. In fact, the brutish dinosaurs started off nearly cuddly. As hatchlings, it's believed that the T-Rex was born with a peach fuzz-like coat. If they were among the fraction that survived past infancy, they'd shed their baby feathers, minus the mullet and tail, a feat that just 40% of the T-Rex total population would live to see. Gregory Erickson, a paleontologist from Florida State University, explained that the T-Rex was sort of like the James Dean of dinosaurs. The actor passed away at the age of 24 and famously uttered the quote, "Live fast, die young, leave a good-looking corpse." T-Rexes weren't here long, but they were magnificent to behold. Based on growth rings observable on dinosaur bones, much like the concentric markings of trees, paleontologists pinpointed the ages of time of death to be usually before 30 years. Within that 3-decade lifespan, the T-Rex spent most of its time packing on the pounds. In their journey from fuzzy hatchling to a gargantuan, terrifying beast, the T-Rex would gain about 1,700 pounds, topping out at a staggering 9 tons. Paleontologists think the short arms of a T-Rex were totally purposeless. Similar to the human appendix and wisdom teeth, their arms were passed down from early Tyrannosaur species who could function with a tiny wingspan. Luckily, the T-Rex perfected the eating process by scooping up prey in their menacing jaws. As Mark Norell, a curator for the American Museum of Natural History, explained, the predator had the rare ability to bite through solid bone and digest it. That fascinating bit of information came from studying fossilized dinosaur poop. Who knew that existed? Chemical testing determined that the excrement had pulverized bits of bones that had been exposed to digestive acids in the stomach. If the tooth fairy visited T-Rexes, they'd never have time for anyone else. All the teeth inside that mammoth dino cranium regrew every 2 years, so it was a constant cycle of losing their fangs. Constant tooth regeneration secured the T-Rex's spot for the most powerful jaw of any creature in history. Their prey was crushed with the force of 7,800 pounds, which would be like having 3 Mini Coopers dropped on top of you. Experts debated whether the T-Rex was only a hunter or if they dabbled in scavenging dead animals. It was determined that they ate their own based on fossilized waste examinations, though the question remained, did they eat prey alive? Based on the evidence available so far, all signs point to T-Rexes as strictly bloodthirsty carnivorous hunters, not scavengers. One mischaracterization that Steven Spielberg included in his film is that their eye position limited their sight to tracking only moving objects. That's pure fabrication. With peepers the size of oranges, the T-Rex could clock a meal using its unparalleled depth perception, thanks to the large distance between its forward-facing eyes. If you found yourself face-to-face with a hungry T-Rex, you could have outrun it, because they couldn't run. Similar to the limbs of an elephant, the hind legs remained fairly straight, with at least one limb keeping balance on the ground. At birth, paleontologists say the underdeveloped dinosaurs were capable of running, but that decreased with growth. But the T-Rex had no issue catching its food. It was a master speed walker, gliding along in lengthy strides at about 10 to 25 miles per hour. One fact debated amongst paleontologists is the coloring of a T-Rex. In films, they have muted, earth-toned reptilian hides, though there's no science to support that. All it would take is one smart scientific discovery to prove they were vividly colorful. The tricky part is knowing where to search for the remaining evidence of the dinosaurs. What looks like a craggy rock surface withering from time and the elements could be a paleontological goldmine in disguise.